Have you ever stopped to think about how some Arab countries became billionaires in just a few decades, while most of the world is still struggling to get out of the red? They didn't win the lottery, nor did they rely solely on oil. They follow a silent but extremely powerful mindset, a strategy that even Warren Buffett himself praises, and that you never learned in school. While many people here are falling for get-rich-quick schemes, Arabs are building solid wealth that lasts for generations. And the best part, you can apply the same principles in your daily life, even without being a millionaire. Today, I'm going to show you the secret behind the wealth of the Arabs and how you can use it to transform your financial life, starting now. Many people think that Arabs became rich just because of oil, but the truth is that the foundation of their wealth comes from a financial mindset completely different from ours. While many people here think about what they're going to do with their monthly salary, they're planning how their great-grandchildren will live 50 years from now. It's a long-term mindset, and that changes everything in the money game. In Arab culture, family is the center of everything. There's no such thing as every man for himself. They think as a group, as a clan. They invest together, protect their assets together, and make financial decisions always thinking about the collective. It's as if everyone were partners in the same company, the company of their own family. This union gives an absurd financial strength, which grows over time. Now think about it. While many people spend what they have, and what they don't have, to show off status, Arabs prefer discretion and strategy. They understand that real wealth isn't about flaunting, but about building assets that will generate money forever. This is one of the great lessons that also appears in Warren Buffett's letters. Live below your means, invest intelligently, and let time do the heavy lifting. Another curious point is that unlike us, they don't fall into the rush to get rich. Quick, they know that patience is a powerful weapon. While many look for shortcuts and magic formulas, Arabs follow a plan of decades. And that makes all the difference. When you have a vision for the future and discipline, growth is almost inevitable. So if you really want to get out of the cycle of scarcity and start building real wealth, maybe it's time to stop thinking like an individual consumer and start thinking like a legacy investor. This is the basis of the mindset that transformed ordinary Arab families into true billionaire dynasties. When it comes to Arab wealth, the first thing that comes to most people's minds is oil. And yes, oil was the starting point. But what few people realize is that the big secret isn't the oil itself, but what they did with the oil money. They didn't squander their fortune. They reinvested, and intelligently. While other countries wasted their natural resources, the Arabs transformed their income into real assets. Gigantic properties, luxury hotels around the world, stakes in multinational companies, and even European football clubs. All this with a very clear logic. Assets that appreciate over time and generate constant passive income. This is the same logic that Warren Buffett has used for decades. A classic example is the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia, one of the largest in the world. It works like a kind of professional investor for the country, buying stakes in companies like Uber, Disney, Boeing, and many others. In other words, while we buy products from these companies, they are buying parts of the companies. It's a totally different level of financial game. This model also applies in the United Arab Emirates, especially in Dubai. There, they created a diversified economy that doesn't depend only on oil, luxury tourism, aviation, technology, and civil construction. All this was possible because they used the profits from oil to plant new sources of income. They understood one simple thing: wealth that depends on a single source is unstable. And here's a reflection. If even with oil they preferred to diversify, why do we still insist on putting all our money in one place? Maybe what's missing for many people isn't money, but strategy. And the Arabs have shown, in practice, how the right assets build solid wealth, even in regions that, just a few decades ago, were just desert. Do you know what Warren Buffett and Arab investors have in common? They are patient. Very patient. While the average investor is desperate for quick profits and keeps jumping from hype to hype, these billionaire folks play the game differently. Calmly, quietly, and calculatedly. And that's where the real power lies. Buffett has a classic, quote, "The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient." And that's exactly what the Arabs understood. They don't get carried away by fads or headlines of the moment. They study, observe, and only put money where it really makes sense in the long term. They invest in fundamentals, not in promises. Want a practical example? The Saudi Arabian Sovereign Wealth Fund bought shares of Uber years before the company exploded worldwide. And it wasn't because they saw a fleeting opportunity. It was because they calmly understood the potential of the business, analyzing the trend of urban mobility around the world. That's long-term vision. That's investing with the mind of an owner. Another important point, they don't sell on the first high. Quite the contrary. Like Buffett, the Arabs hold their investments for years, sometimes decades, because they know that real wealth doesn't come from buying, but from maintaining. It's like planting a tree. It's no use digging every day to see if the root has grown. You plant, take care of it, and let time do the rest. This philosophy is something that anyone can apply, even with little money. If you stop acting in a hurry and start thinking like an investor and not like a gambler, everything changes. The Arabs show that patience is more valuable than speed, and Warren Buffett agrees 100%. There is a piece of the puzzle that few people see when looking at the wealth of the Arabs, the power of networking. And I'm not talking about social media networking, no. I'm talking about strategic relationships with heads of state, CEOs of multinational corporations, trillion-dollar funds, and even religious leaders. They know that money in itself has limits, but well-used influence can multiply any fortune. Arabs don't just invest with capital, they invest with access. That's why they can close giant deals with governments, buy strategic companies in other countries, and even change economic policies in their favor. They don't play the game, they sit at the table where the game is created. And that accelerates wealth building to a level that seems inaccessible to most people. A curious case is that of Qatar, which, despite being a tiny country, has stakes in global companies such as Volkswagen, Barclays, and even in the group that controls Harrods in London. How was this possible? Relationship, strategy, and long-term vision. They understand that, many times, being in the right place with the right people is worth more than having billions sitting in the bank. And that's where a great lesson comes. Not everything is about how much you have, but about who you know and how you position yourself. This applies even to those who are just starting out. Creating connections, learning to talk about business, positioning yourself intelligently. In the market, all this builds influence, and influence is a form of wealth. The Arabs show that building wealth goes far beyond investing well. It involves playing the game of power with calm and class. They are discreet, but they are in all the right places, making the right alliances. And this type of movement, when done well, opens doors that no amount of money could buy alone. Now that you've seen how the Arabs build absurd wealth, with long-term vision, real assets, strategic patience, and power of influence, the question that remains is, and you, are you going to keep thinking only about the present? Or are you going to start playing the game of the greats? It doesn't matter if you have little or a lot of money today. What matters is the mindset you decide to adopt from now on. Start small, think big, and above all, think far. After all, extraordinary results don't come from extraordinary actions, but from simple habits done with consistency. And that is the path to true financial freedom. If this video made you think, leave a like, because that helps me a lot to continue bringing this type of content to you. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, because here you will learn to take care of your money like the great investors do, in a light, direct way that works in practice. And look, there's another video appearing on the screen now, where I show how millionaires think and make financial decisions that seem simple, but change everything. Click there to continue on this journey with us. Thanks for watching until here. A big hug, and see you in the next video.